Thanks for listening to Exploring the Wine Glass podcast, the podcast for people who love wine. I'm Lori Budd, a UC Davis winemaking program and WSET Level 2 graduate. You can find Exploring the Wine Glass on all the socials as well as your favorite podcast catchers. If you haven't subscribed yet, now's the perfect time. I promise I'll never tell you what to drink, but I'll always share what's in my glass. Hey everyone, welcome to Exploring the Wine Glass. I have something very special for you today. It is something completely different. I think that most podcasters also have to listen to podcasts. Otherwise, how else would we have caught the bug to get behind the mic? I'm always curious what podcasts people enjoy listening to, and of course, am constantly looking for new ones to fill my queue. Besides a multitude of wine podcasts, the other categories that I love to listen to are true crime and supernatural. Today, I thought it would be intriguing to cross over into another realm. Of course, I'm not going to change gears completely. I don't think I could ever give up talking about wine, but I definitely could merge the two. So today, I am bringing you true crime and wine. I hope you enjoy. Slainte. Approximately 1 hour north of San Francisco lies a not-so-small area known as Napa County. Most recognized for high-end restaurants, beautifully landscaped vineyards, and of course, wine. California's wine history dates back to 1683. Historical records show that vines were planted then, but it is believed that the original vineyards were not truly developed as they were eventually abandoned. The first harvested vines seem to have been planted by missionaries in the late 1700s. Father Junipero Serra established 9 missions, and archives show that he planted vines at each of these missions in order to produce wine to be used in religious ceremonies. Although there are no documents stating what varietals he planted, it is known that he used field blends for the wines. These varietals eventually became known as mission grapes. It took about a century for the wine industry to truly be a part of California's history. In the late 1800s, European immigrants found their way to California, New York, Virginia, Ohio, and Missouri. Eventually, they migrated to Napa and Sonoma. The first official commercial winery in California, Jean-Louis Viognier, opened in 1833. After his success, many decided to follow in his footsteps. The big boom for wineries in California happened in 1859 when Los Angeles City passed a measure that no taxes would be imposed on land used for planting grapes. About 400 miles north of Los Angeles, in Napa Valley, a gentleman named Joseph Osborne was planting vines on 1,800 acres. He named this tract Oak Knoll, and Napa Valley was born. John Patchett is credited with the first official vineyard and winery in Napa Valley. With vines he planted in 1854, he began harvesting fruit and making wine in 1857. And once you start making wine, you know the cellar isn't far behind. He built his in 1859, and then in 1960, his wine received what is believed to be the very first official wine review. No, Robert Parker wasn't around then, but in his place was the writer for the California Farmer magazine, who stated, "The white wine was light, clear, and brilliant, and very superior indeed." His red wine was excellent. We saw superior brandy too. The winemaker, someone who, in the not-too-distant future, would be making a name for himself. That was the legendary Charles Krug. Napa Valley has truly flourished. In 1856, there were 225 acres under vine. In just 10 years, that number skyrocketed to over 3,700. And over the next 100 years, the numbers continue to soar to nearly 25,000 acres planted. Napa Valley was truly prospering. Two major pivotal points in California's wine history was the gold rush and the transcontinental railway. As people with golden dreams moved west and into the area, there were new settlers, farmers, and businesses. As San Francisco multiplied significantly, people decided to move away from the city and move to the country, the wine regions of Napa and Sonoma. The largest growth for the California wine industry happened in the 20th century. And as we all know, where there is growth, there is greed. And where there is greed, there is crime. That's what we're talking about today. The nastiest of crimes, murder. Let's get to know the characters in this murder, shall we? Robert Dahl, originally from Minnesota, he was an entrepreneur with what could be called not the greatest track record. People who knew him stated that at first he appeared to be ambitious and brilliant with entrepreneurial ideas. He was known as a quick talker and had the gift of gab that made people feel at ease with investing with him. But as time went by, these investors realized that it was all a facade. He created a company, Duraban International, which produced a spray to kill mold, and the investors fell into place, and that was just the beginning. However, after the money exchanged hands, the investors found that the company was not as it was supposed to be, and the lawsuits began. The lawyer for Dahl's investors, Stephen J. Lodge, said in a statement, "He was a real good at getting into deals, making his business partners upset, and then exiting in a ball of fire. I considered him kind of pathological." Robert Dahl also had a list of criminal convictions. In 1989, he pled guilty to theft by swindle for more than $2,500. And again, in 1991, he pled guilty to theft for another $2,500. But this was just the beginning. For these terms, he served 90 days in jail. Public record also shows a 15-month prison term for another incident, but I couldn't exactly find what that incident was. Other public records also show bankruptcy, evictions, and collections. Imad Tafalis grew up in Los Angeles prior to moving to Los Gatos. He was known as easygoing and level-headed. He had gone into business for himself and was extremely successful in the corporate world. Although he was a corporate man, he was often seen in jeans and t-shirts. Neighbors talked about how they would often just stop by and talk the night away. He loved to play basketball and spend time with friends and family. He made his money in the Silicon Valley and loved movies and wine. His dream was to invest in both. His first and last movie investment would be one he would never get to see. Johnny Westwood, American Hero, was a poorly rated comedy that released in 2016. According to IMDb, the storyline was a wannabe private investigator wins the green card lottery and moves to America to pursue his dream only to find it embroiled in a conspiracy to start the next world war. He invested $200,000 in the movie and actually could be seen as an extra in it. His brother, Magdi Tafalis, described Imad as easy to please, someone with no enemies, a man that was well loved by his family and neighbors. He equated him to an angel, a person who would help everyone and never hurt a body. And last character, what may be the most important one in this story, a red gym bag filled with $800,000 in cash, the straw that philosophically broke the camel's back. Let's take a look at the backstory to this murder. Robert had packed his things up and along with his wife and 3 children moved to Napa Valley. he used his charm to strike up a friendship with Dominic Fapoli, now owner of Christopher Creek Winery. Robert and Dominic joined forces to purchase a vineyard. Robert didn't know anything about making wine, and Dominic's family had been in the wine industry for 4 generations. But soon after the collaboration began, Dominic realized things were not as they seemed. Dominic was making the wine, and Robert was in charge of the books. Dominic saw the wines he made being sold, but somehow money was not in the accounts and bills weren't being paid. After receiving a phone call that the vineyard was going to go into foreclosure, Dominic went to his family and raised the money to buy Robert out and absolved the relationship. Robert Dahl, after receiving payment from Dominic for his portion of the winery, decided that he wanted more. He didn't just want to be an investor, he wanted to own his own winery. He wanted to see his name on a label. In 2017, Dahl met Imad Tafalis. They both shared the dream of making it big in the wine industry. 2 years later, Robert had Imad where he wanted him. He charmed Imad into investing $1.2 million to fund Dahl Vineyards. If you're going to hook an investor, it's important to dangle the carrot in front of them. In this case, Robert showed a profit, a slight profit. Dahl was a great salesman. He was great at pouring the wine and making the sales, and this allowed him to sell the wine and pay Imad back a portion of his investment, which in turn grabbed Imad and immediately wanted him to invest more. That investment was in the form of $800,000 in cash given to Dahl in a red Adidas gym bag. Unfortunately, Imad was not aware of Robert's checkered past. He wasn't aware of his failed business relationship with Dominic Fapoli, nor did he know about the TV star Adam Carolla, who partnered with him to make wine. And although he made money on the venture, Adam did not receive all of the funds that he should have. Dahl also didn't share information with Imad about his business dealings with rapper E40. Once again, money was made, but somehow the investor did not see the money owed to him. Not to mention a failed brewery business that Dahl had used a portion of Imad's investment secretly, plus $250,000 that he had received from other investors. When Imad found out that the money he invested into the winery was instead diverted to other dealings, he was furious. It was then that he decided he needed to find out everything he could about Dahl. Imad hired an investigator who found out that Dahl had several liens against him in Minnesota, along with the criminal convictions. Upon hearing what his investigator uncovered, Imad started a lawsuit against Robert Dahl. And without blinking an eye, Robert countersued, saying that it was all Imad's fault that everything was going down. Napa courts, of course, sided with Imad and placed a hold on all dealings with the winery. But somehow, some way, equipment started to disappear out of the winery. On March 16, 2015, the lawyers came to a deal. Robert arranged for a meeting at the winery located at 6155 Solano Avenue. Imad went to the winery, and their lawyers were on the phone. During the conference, Robert shocked everyone by saying, "Well, no, the lawyers came up with this agreement. I'm not agreeing to this," and immediately changed the offer. The lawyers decided, "We're not going to stay on the phone for this. Let the two gentlemen deal with the argument and call us back when an agreement has been made." But an agreement was not made. Instead, gunfire was heard, and the two men came running out of the barn. Robert chased Imad, firing a .22 caliber semi-automatic handgun.
911, what's your emergency?
As he ran through the vineyard dodging bullets, Imad dialed 911 and claimed, "He shot me. He's coming after me in his truck." Imad continued to run and heard the sirens of the police racing to the scene. He must have thought he was being saved, but as the police cars came closer, So did Dahl and his vehicle. At the corner of Solano Avenue and Hoffman Lane, Dahl got out of his truck and shot Imad in the head. Robert may have had a silver tongue, but he realized there would be no talking himself out of this. He got back into the car and drove away. He was ultimately found at Wall Road and the Oakville grade. As dozens of officers closed in, Dahl chose to shoot himself. Afterwards, the police found a document that Robert had brought to the meeting. The paper stated that Imad was purposely trying to ruin Robert's life and that it was all a hoax. Apparently, he wanted Imad to sign the document, and he knew it would only be signed if it was under gunpoint. They also found evidence that Robert was planning on murdering more people, perhaps the people that he also failed in the previous businesses. He wanted to bring down all of the people who helped bring him down. The police found over 700 rounds of ammunition in his home. This murder was not a mystery. There are pages and pages of documents showing that Robert Dahl was swindling a multitude of people, and one day it just got all out of hand. But if you are willing to live at an infamous murder scene, you have come to the right place, because this winery is currently for sale. The McVicker family owned the winery at the time of the tragedy. The winery had been in business since 1988. It produced 20,000 gallons of wine each year, but did not have a tasting room and did not accept visitors. The business closed in 2000, and the building remained vacant until 2014, when Dahl leased it. After the murder-suicide, the McVickers boarded up the facility, where it has remained vacant. It first went on the market unsuccessfully in 2016 for $6.9 million. At this point, they rezoned the winery to allow visitors. In November 2018, it resurfaced for $6 million. It has been on and off the market since then and is currently listed at $5.95 million. It has never been sold. Would you be willing to live here? Thanks for listening. I would love to hear if you liked this little detour from wine education and interviews. Please reach out to me on social media, on Twitter, at Explore Wineglass. That's EXPLOR Wineglass. And let me know how you liked it. And don't forget to rate and review me to help others find the podcast. I've received 3 5-star ratings in the past weeks. Thank you to those who left those ratings. I wish I could thank you by name. And now, a word from our sponsor. Did you know that Dracaena Wines now has a wine club? We named it the Chalk Club. Draco is on our label, but Vegas was getting a little jealous, so we decided he deserved to be our club spokesdog. In Las Vegas, betting chalk means that you are betting on all of the favorites. We are betting that we are one of your favorite wineries, so we thought the name was apropos. The club is simple, yet a bit different than most. When you wager on us, we will ship you 3 bottles of wine twice a year, once in April and once in September. You can choose all red or mix of red and rosé. You immediately receive 15% off of all your wine purchases throughout the year, but what makes our club stand out is the progressive discount. Let your club membership ride into the next year. Your discount increases. Each year you parlay your membership, you receive an additional 5% off up to a planned maximum of 25%. Your club shipments are discounted to a flat $15, plus we'll cover your club shipping cost for your second shipment. That's $15 house money in a sure bet for you. So please head to our website, dracaenawines.com, and find out all of the benefits of joining the Chalk Club and how to sign up. We've stacked the odds so that you can get our award-winning wines without breaking the bank. This has been another episode of Exploring the Wineglass. Thanks for listening. If you have suggestions on what topics you would like me to discuss, please reach out on social media. You can find me on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook as Exploring the Wine Glass. I'm also on LinkedIn as Lori Hoyt Budd. Of course, you can always email me at exploringthewineglass@gmail.com. If you enjoyed our podcast, please rate, review, and subscribe on your favorite podcast catcher to help others find me more easily. Until next week, Slainte.